Allie is, she went to law school at Columbia and graduated top of her class.
No, Robert, Georgetown.
Georgetown. Aren't those are both in DC, right?
No.
Oh, Columbia's in New York. She went to some smart school. So she went to Georgetown, graduated top of her class, and then she went to work with Charlie Munger's law firm. If you don't know, Charlie Munger is Warren Buffett's business partner. He's huge on mental models. I think he's one of the smartest human beings on the planet who's been given a microphone and allowed to express himself. She decided she wanted a different life than just being a lawyer, and so she changed the way that she did law. Made it a little bit more human, more personable, added some incense to the waiting room. And then she's been teaching other lawyers how to do that. So she's been changing the law practice to make it more of a human profession. And she's also had her hands in some other things as well. She has a couple different companies that she works in. And what we're going to do here today is really going to kind of uncover how she thinks and what she thinks and in her decision-making process, then how we can use these mental models in our own lives to think like an entrepreneur and to think like a high-level problem solver. So Allie, welcome. It's great to have you.
Thank you, Robert. It's so good to be here. And yeah, when I first went to Burning Man, I had the dream of bringing Burning Man home. Little did I realize that this is how it would have to be. And we would actually have to do Burning Man at home. So here we are.
It's amazing. And then if God is like a being, one being, not just everywhere, somewhere God's patting herself on the back, like, dude, I totally nailed it this year. Multiverse Burning Man. And it is a multiverse of Burning Man, like just like big pat on the back, totally crushed it. And last year Burning Man I think it was transformation was the theme. And the burn night was on the new moon. Like, what's the likelihood of that? Like, it was just perfect. Burning Man's got some real energy magic behind it to come in all these amazing ways. So yeah, you totally brought Burning Man home this year, Allie. So you're the one to give gratitude for the fact that we all get to be at home now and get to experience Burning Man. Our parents can experience Burning Man. Like, my parents were never going to go. They said they were never going to go. Now they can go because they can tune in on their computer. And so Allie, let's just start from really high level. What do you think, you've been very successful in your multiple different businesses and the different iterations of yourself. What do you think you can attribute to your success in the way that you think and the way that you solve problems?
Well, I would say that what I can attribute to my success is that I really have shifted my mindset from one that sees problems as stopping points to one that sees problems as the root of the solution. So I used to have the worst mindset. My mindset, as most lawyers, I would say mindsets are, it was just really negative. And I was full of competition. If I wasn't winning, it wasn't a game worth playing. And in one respect, that served me really well because I achieved a whole lot of external success, from that mindset, from that place. But I would say that things really did start to change when I first went to Burning Man 2008. Brought my kids that first year, and that's when something actually really started to shift in me, because our first year of getting to Burning Man was really a huge nightmare. And I got to learn the power of surrender and what actually happens that is even better than I could have imagined when I stop reacting to the problems and I start to surrender into the problems as the source of the solution. And that started to rewire my brain and rewire my programming. And our second year at Burning Man, we actually almost didn't get there. We broke down on a Sunday in this huge RV in between, must have been in between LA and Reno, in the one place where there was no cell service. And, this was like our big family vacation. And I had probably, invested $10,000 to get us all there. It was my kids and me and my ex-husband, taking the week off work, probably 10 days off work. This was like a big deal. And we had some other friends with us as well. And we're cruising along. And then all of a sudden, something happens under the hood of the RV and we just, die right there on the side of the road on a Sunday. Does not look like there's any houses around. My kid's dad and I get on our bikes and we ride to the nearest farmhouse, these like super old people. And we're in our Burning Man gear, you know, and we get on our bikes, we ride to their house. We're like, please help us. Can we please make some calls? We finally get in touch with somebody who can send a tow truck, but it's hours and hours. And finally, you know, because we need a big rig tow truck for this RV, and the tow truck comes, lets me and the kids get in the cab of the tow truck, which was not supposed to be. Let our friends stay in the back, being towed in the RV. We're going on these, you know, curvy roads, and the RV's going like this behind the tow truck, and drops us off at the General Motors dealership in Reno. And I wake up first thing in the morning, and I'm like, please help us. We have to get to Burning Man. It's now Monday, you know, Monday of Burning Man, and we have to get to Burning Man. This is our family vacation. I'm super stressed out. And it turns out that the part that broke needs to be shipped from literally 5 miles away. They will not let us go pick it up at the GM distribution center. They have to ship it. So like in my mind, I'm processing like, oh God, it's gonna, by the time they ship it and they put it in, it's gonna be Wednesday and half the week's over. And I'm like, can feel my anxiety rising, and like, I wanna solve this problem. And if I use my typical business skills to solve this problem and I can push through and get it done, we're getting to Burning Man. And then I remembered, you know, what Burning Man has taught me from the year before. And it taught me just like, okay, just surrender into what's happening and see what life might have for you, because life might actually have something better for you. And I remember seeing like whatever that big hotel is in Reno. And I remember looking over it and thinking, well, maybe I'm just supposed to take the kids to the pool, and we're supposed to hang out there for the week and enjoy the pool. And I surrendered into that possibility and relaxed. My whole system just relaxed. Okay, life, what do you have for me? And literally in that moment, the guy comes out from inside and he says, okay, here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take the part out of one of the other semi trucks that we have here that you need, and we're gonna put it in to your RV. And we're gonna let you go on with that part, and then when the new part comes in, we'll put it back into the other thing. I did not have to come up with that solution. I didn't have to tell them what to do. I didn't have to beg, borrow or steal. I just needed to relax and trust that maybe life had something better for me. I'm gonna surrender to the moment, and there we were on our way. We got to Burning Man that year, had an incredible year. That was in fact the year that I met Eben and Annie, met them at the exact same moment actually that they met each other. So that was a big year for me. And that was my entry to Mystic, because the following year, then I got to be at Mystic. And that lesson has repeatedly served me in my business journey, because my business journey has been very unusual, to say the least. Starting as a lawyer, graduating first in my class from Georgetown, going to Charlie Munger's firm, starting my own law practice, building it to $1 million a year business, writing a best-selling book, doing a bunch of TV as a family, financial, and legal expert, and then having an ayahuasca journey and realizing, oh God, none of this success is what it's about. In fact, I'm creating all the suffering that I see around me because of this success path that I'm on, and I need to change everything about my life. And then leaving LA and moving to Boulder basically on a whim, and discovering Ali Shanti in the process, this whole other part of me that now I'm going to live publicly in the world, both as a lawyer, serving lawyers as Alexis Neely, and living as Ali Shanti, this whole other part of me, this alter ego part of me, but not hiding it, living it out in public, not just keeping it for Burning Man, but actually bringing it out into the world and letting go of everything that I had built. The brand, the ego, the success, and many, many, many times along the way saying to myself, Alexis, or really Allie, because it was Alexis saying this to Allie, what the fuck are you doing? You are ruining your life.
Yikes.
You've built all this success and now you're going out in the world acting like a crazy person with 2 personalities and 2 brands, and you can't do this. But the other part of me that started to come through in Burning Man saying, yes, you can. You get to be all of yourself. You get to be all of yourself. And you get to confront the parts of yourself that are scared because you're afraid basically that you won't be able to make money. That was really at the root of it, at the behind all of it, is like, if I show everybody who I am, who I really am, you know, these 2 distinct parts, the feminine and the masculine, Alexis Neely and Ali Shanti, and live all of this out in the world, that you're not going to be able to feed your family. And so I just dove right into that. I was like, all right, well, let's see if that's true.
That's such an amazing example of surrender. I can tell you from my own Burning Man experience, we got pulled over last year going to Burning Man, and the cops were just pulling everybody over who's going over early. And then they started searching our car, and they were searching for a long time. They're like, the dog triggered. I said, no, he didn't. We don't have anything. He's like, yes, he did. I'm like, no, he didn't. We're not carrying anything interesting. Like you're searching our car illegally. And they said, just wait over there. And it wasn't until all 3 of us sat down and meditated and just blessed the cops. I just said, you know, blessings to them. I hope they're, you know, they're safe on their travels and that this is okay. Like it was probably literally like 2 minutes after we started that process, they said, okay, we're sorry. We're really sorry. We didn't find anything. You know, let's make sure you get on your way safely. It was that surrender. And like Burning Man, it kind of like requires that of us, because you go out into the desert and it's windy and it's hot and it's dry, and then it's cold and it's windy and it's dry, and it's just insane. And the idea of us bringing that I'm going to solve all the problems myself mentality just doesn't work. And Burning Man just requires that you surrender to yourself and to your community to do it, even though radical self-reliance is one of the principles. The surrender is totally a huge part of that. I'd love to hear how you use surrender.
Just to interrupt there for a minute about how really impressive that moment was. You were in my RV, and I happened to know that there were things in that RV. So thank you for the meditation and the surrender that allowed those dogs and the police to move on.
Nothing that they could find without a warrant. We were very careful about that. We put things where they would need a physical warrant to like open things up. And so, and nothing smelled that I'm aware of. And dog handlers are often unscrupulous. They'll do things to trigger the dog. Like, oh, he's interested in your car. Well, yeah, there's food and, you know, clothing, and, you know, I'd be interested in the car if I were the dog. Yeah, I was like, I had to surrender. Like, listen, I just hope the art gets there. Like, I had the art in the car. I had like this painting behind me. I'm like, this has got to get there. This is not Burning Man without Gaia. Yeah, it was quite the experience. So, Ali, how do you use this? So the principle is like when there's a problem, kind of surrender to it. First, I guess in practical terms, it's like to accept it. Okay, this is a problem. Okay, let's. I don't need to force a solution. I can allow a solution to come. And I can also use problem solving techniques, but first is to accept it, and then to also process the worst case scenario. Worst case scenario, I'm gonna be at a hotel with my kids at Reno for a couple days, and that's okay. Life is not over. That might be what's needed, and I'm okay with that. And then allow the universe to kind of solve the problem for you. That's kind of the mental model, right?
Yeah, the mental model is intend, surrender, trust, and then get into action from that place. Let life from that place of surrender show you the next step. So, you know, it's not just about like, oh, whatever, I'm just gonna turn my back on it. It's definitely not, I'm gonna turn my back on it. It's not, I'm gonna run away from it. It's not, it's not about collapsing under the weight of it, right? Because it could very easily appear to be, oh, I'm just going to collapse under the weight, or I'm going to quit, I'm going to give up. None of those are what's actually true. The whole thing really starts with clear intention, and so when we start with clear intention, and we're very clear to life, to ourselves, what it is that we want, It's the place that we start. So in that case, what did I want? I wanted to have a great vacation with my kids and with my family. I wanted to have a great vacation with my kids and my family. So then, you know, I'm gonna bring that intention into my reality. Like, okay, this is really what I want. Yes, of course, I want to get to Burning Man too, but what I really want is to just have a really good time with my family, right? And so in the business context, a lot of times that intention can get compromised where we're actually intending the wrong thing. I was reading something by a guy last night who, you know, had been on this path to build $1 billion business. He's the founder of Gumroad. And he had been on this path to build $1 billion business, and things were not going in that direction. And he, from what I could tell in reading his blog post, used this process. And it started with him getting clear that, oh, the intention is not $1 billion business. The intention is to serve the millions of creators that the business is actually designed to serve. So when I'll apply this to my business the first time around that I was scaling all of those heights of success, when my intention was to make a certain amount of money or to achieve a certain amount of fame, it was all external intention, right? And once that intention actually shifted and I realized, oh wait, that is taking me totally off course. Every time I achieve those metrics of success from that place, I'm actually not that happy. It's not sustainably fulfilling. Now, those metrics of success might be important to achieve what is the real intention, but we've got to be really clear about the real intention. Just like my real intention wasn't really to get to Burning Man, it was to have a great time with my family. Burning Man, getting to Burning Man was potentially going to serve that and did, but really it was about having a great time with my family. So in my business context, once I started to see that the reason I kept not being happy every time I achieved the metric of success that I thought I was supposed to, like, you know, getting the 6-figure paycheck at Charlie Munger's firm didn't make me happy. Building the $1 million law practice didn't make me happy. You know, being the best-selling author didn't make me happy. It was because those were all these external metrics of success. They weren't the actual thing underlying all of that that is what I really wanted. And it took me having to let it all go, let all of that go to find out, well, what is it that I really want? What is this intention that I really, truly have? And that intention that I really, truly have was to be able to be, at that time, be able to be all of myself while giving my gifts in the world. Not having to hide any parts of myself because I was afraid that if I brought certain parts of myself out into the light, I wouldn't be able to make the money that I needed to support my family. So what I really wanted was to be able to be a stand for authentic expression. Now that's changed over time. Once I achieved being that stand for authentic expression, that's changed. And today the intention is I would really want to change the financial and legal services models so that the people that are helping us to make the most important decisions in our lives are doing that from a place of enough, so that we can move beyond any of these false paradigms of scarcity and conditioned programming that drive us, so many of us, into making the decisions that cause us to compromise who we are, why we're here, and what's ours to do.
That's a perfect segue. I'd love to find out how you make decisions. You run several different businesses. You're also a mother, and so you've had a lot of decisions to make.
Yeah.
And I'd love to hear your decision-making process and how that varies. Do you have and I'd love to hear about process, like step-by-step versus intuitive, and how you use those two things and use them differently. So how do you make decisions and solve problems?
Well, I make decisions very much intuitively, but then I create the systems and the structures to support us to reach the goals that I've set from that intuitive place. Right? So, for example, about 4 years ago, it became really clear that I couldn't run two companies and raise my teenagers successfully. In fact, this was a time that you were in my life very, very much, Robert. You were very much in my life. This was the end of.
I was all up in your business.
You were filming me regularly. And, this was the end of 2015. And
it was all consensual filming. I just want to be clear on that. It
was consensual filming. It's true. And I was running two businesses and trying to raise my teenagers, and my daughter at that time had just, started high school and immediately got involved with drugs, alcohol, and sex. Ninth grade, and, hanging with all the bad crowd, maybe even being the leader of the bad crowd and getting in trouble and just really going off the deep end, which was kind of to be expected given, my own high school years, and her dad's. And so, of course, it made sense.
Opposite. Weren't you super duper disciplined in school? I heard you had no fun in school.
Well, no, in high school, I was, I hung with the stoners. Because I felt the safest with them. But, and then college, I did do a sorority, but I was that I was able to, I majored in criminal justice. So it was me and all the football players. So I could party really hard on the weekends and then get straight A's. But then law school, that was once I got to law school, I knew, okay, now it counts. And so in law school, no partying, nothing, only studying, didn't make any friends, just studied all the time. So I knew what mattered when. And I think that's really important. I think that's actually an important part of my decision-making process, is that intuitively, I trust myself to know what matters when, even at the various points in my life when I felt the least internally trustworthy. So I trusted myself at this deep, deep, deep level, even when there were parts of my life where I was seeing I was actually not trustworthy at the surface, because I could see the conditioning and the programming. But because I really trusted myself at this deep, deep, deep level, that my heart was good, that if I found a way to keep being led by my heart, which I didn't have any idea how to do, really, until Burning Man, honestly, that I would be able to put my mind in service to my heart, and that I could trust that. But I had no idea how to do that. I spent many years fumbling around, probably looking like a fool, making very public mistakes, facing my shame, facing, all of the ways that I would look at what I was doing and be like, oh my God, what is she doing, about myself? And eventually I did. I learned how to unite my heart and my mind. But, when you were in my life, back, in that very close time, and I was running two companies and trying to deal with my daughter, who was, getting involved in her own individuation process, I used some tools that I had created for myself to be able to see, oh, I'm not going to be able to run two companies. I'm not going to be able to successfully run two companies and raise my daughter and my son and do well with these companies. Now, life had to show me that with a few 2x4s upside the head. I don't know if you remember, but this was the end of 2015, and I was in the middle of a big launch, and my business partners walked out of that. This might have been right before you came into my reality.
I think it was there. This sounds very familiar.
My business partners walked out, literally no notice, right in the middle of the launch. And so I've got, 250 people enrolled in a program that I need to deliver. And now no business team, really. A skeleton team is left to deliver it. An $86,000 program that we had enrolled somebody in that we were not going to be able to deliver on, and we were going to need to refund. All of that was in one company. In my other company, I had a CEO, operating interim CEO, who didn't trust me, who was a Mormon with 10 kids, kind of a misogynist, who was now installing all of his kids in my company one by one. And I'm seeing, oh God, I'm going to need to get him out of the company. And at the same time, my daughter, going off the deep end. So what do I do in that moment when all of that is happening? I pray. Please show me the way. Show me the way, show me the way, show me the way. The clear guidance comes through that says, be her mother. That's your job. Be her mother.
I remember you saying those words to me, that came through for you. Those stick out really clear.
And in that moment, I got clear that it wasn't just about being her mother, my daughter's mother. It was about being her mother. Like, I had never actually learned how to mother the little, the inner child in me really reliably. Be her mother. I don't have any idea how to do this. I don't have any idea how to be my daughter's mother. I don't even have any idea how to be my own mother. So I did this work on myself. It's called the money map. And this work of the money map was able to show me that I was not going to be able to have two companies. And that, in fact, if I let go of one of the companies, that I would be able to pay back the $86,000 refund. I'd be able to deliver on the course that I was delivering. I'd be able to step into my role as CEO and get the guy out as CEO. And that I'd actually be able to step into leadership. And so I did that. That was 2016.
Can I just chime in here from an outside perspective? I remember that this shit hitting the fan, and I thought you handled it really amazingly. Like, I don't remember, you played it very calm. You said, hey, do you want to see what I found in like my daughter's room? And like, you showed me this really kick-ass bong. You're like, I'm disturbed that she found this, that she has this, but this is cool, right? I'm like, yeah, it is. You're like, you want it? And like, so you were really chill about it. It was a really nice water pipe. And you're like, I remember there's time you were concerned about whether or not she had drugs on her, and you were like going through her purse, and you were totally cool with her having condoms there, and you didn't have a discussion with her about that. You're just like, listen, she's her own person and she's being responsible, and I'm going to be cool with that. You like, I saw you from an outside perspective being really calm and being very evolved and accepting and loving of her in these different times, and not clamping down too hard, but not being uber permissive, but trying to find what you thought was the right line. Whether or not it was right or not, who's to say what is right in parenting? But you tried to hold the principles that you value in that time. And one thing that really impressed me was that you stayed super calm. And I remember when your I don't want to call her your housekeeper, but your assistant, her name is forgetting me. She was a friend of ours. She didn't get food poisoning, but she had an allergic reaction at your dinner table, and you immediately dropped into like crisis mode, as in like, okay, Caitlin, you need to calm down. Robert's going to take you to the hospital. Everything is going to be fine. And like her physiology changed, and she got in the car. It was totally fine, but she was freaking out before then. Rightfully so. She didn't understand what was happening. And you have that ability to manage crisis and really drop into like a place of calm centeredness. And like, I don't know what happens then. I'd love to hear if you do that consciously and how you do that. Cause that seems like a really valuable skill, especially in this time of crisis that we're facing today of, crisis mode. Okay. Calm down. I'm going to get in touch with my center. I'm going to do what is best. I'm going to do what is best. And here's my process. And we're going to move from a place of centeredness and not a place from heightened emotion.
That's exactly right. So that's the surrender that we were talking about at the beginning of this call. And the sooner that you can really learn to expand your capacity, the sooner that you can see any problem that's happening as this opportunity to come into this surrender and really be able to meet the moment, not from a place of reactivity, but from a place of actually trusting life, actually trusting your own ability to respond, right? When I think about the word responsibility, that word is the ability to respond. And so as all of these things were blowing up, what I knew is that I needed to get myself into a place where I would have an ability to respond and I would not be in reactive mode. And in fact, part of what I did that year, I was going to send my daughter away to a wilderness therapy program. That was going to be the saving grace so that I could keep running my companies. And when things happened that made it so that she couldn't go, and I brought in the prayer, and the prayer said, be her mother. And so I let go of a company instead of my daughter. We actually all went together, if you remember, to Envision Festival.
Yeah, amazing.
Like, okay, we're in the midst of a crisis. My companies actually seem to need me more than ever, but I'm not going to operate from that reactive frame. What am I going to do? I'm going to take my daughter to Envision Festival. Like, if she wants to party, then I'm going to take her into a safe reality to party in, where she can see what does it look like to actually party, not from this 14-year-old, 15-year-old buying drugs at the grocery store.
Yeah, the Skittles parties. Goodness, that seems like the most dangerous thing I've ever heard in my life.
Whatever they were doing, and instead I'm going to bring her to Envision Festival. And you came with us, actually, and Michael.
And for those of you who don't know, Envision Fest is like Burning Man in the winter, or in the jungle. A friend of ours, Decker, said this should be called Burning Woman, because it's got the same energy as Burning Man, but it's smaller. It's in the jungle. It's lush. It's beautiful. People are dancing and making eye contact and loving each other. Beautiful workshops, beautiful music. You did a workshop there. It was really it was a really heartfelt, connected time. It's very similar to Burning Man, but not in the desert, in the jungle.
Yeah, it was so great, and that week actually changed my life. And so if I had been operating from reactivity and sent my daughter away and clamped down on the businesses and continued to operate in that reaction to life instead of surrendering, with clear goals and metrics in mind, by the way, right? So again, not collapsing, but with clear goals and metrics in mind, it's the perfect union of the masculine and feminine in action, right? So the masculine part of me was like, all right, I'm going to step back in as CEO. I'm going to deliver on this course. I'm going to make this $86,000 refund. These goals are going to happen. And I'm also going to surrender into what is life showing me. And I'm going to say yes to doing some things that might seem a little bit crazy in the midst of all this. I'm going to take my daughter to Envision Festival, and I'm going to go speak at this place in Costa Rica. And then even we ended up staying longer, and life showed me that we needed to go to the other side of Costa Rica and go to the Roots Gathering, where I actually got my name that I have now, Katz. That's probably too long of a story for right now, but that name came through.
You kept a state of abundance in this time of scarcity. You had scarcity of time, scarcity of money, and just basically scarcity of resources, right? That's amazing that in this time, you're like, well, I'm going to be really abundant. I'm going to take my family and my friends to Costa Rica, and we're going to go to Envision Fest, and then we're going to stay longer. And like that's such an amazing counterintuitive ability, right? So Thomas Jefferson says, what happens when you come to the very end of the knot, you're dangling off the cliff? Well, you tie a knot at the end and you hold on to the nub, right? And what you did was you basically had trust and surrender, and then you somehow found abundance mentality in that extreme time, and then you got what it is that you were looking for with your family and yourself, and personal transformation that time.
Yeah, it's because by that point, I had a very clear understanding of my financials. I had a very clear understanding of my financials. I would not have been able to do that if I had been managing my financials the way that I had 5 years before. 5 years before, when those things began to happen, I actually collapsed under the weight of all of it, ran away from all of it, moved to a farm, and filed bankruptcy. So now, fast forward 4 or 5 years, and I had actually developed the financial systems that I needed to be able to show my system that it was okay, that I could do this by being able to manage my financial resources. So that's where the masculine part comes in. right? The feminine part was, let's go to Costa Rica. And the masculine part was, okay, let's, set that clear intention. Great, we're going to go to Costa Rica, but we're still going to get the CEO out. We're still going to, pay all the bills. We're still going to make the refund. We're still going to deliver on. And great, what is that going to look like? That came from mastery of my calendar and mastery of my money. Now, you might say, well, is mastery of your money because you had $1 million in the bank? No, I've never had $1 million in the bank. And I might for like 5 minutes have $1 million in the bank, like a really short period in the future. But that would only be because I already know what that $1 million is going to be allocated towards. I don't really believe in a accumulation hoarding mentality. So I will bring in $1 million when I know exactly how that million is going to be used. And in fact, that's happening right now. It's very exciting. It's stemming back to that 2016, to being on that land in Punta Mona, Robert, where we went, roots gathering. I am now investing in Alegria Village.
Oh, really?
Yes, I am. Yes. So I've signed the contract on a lot there in Alegria. And it's the place where I can see building my future, my future family, homestead, community will be there. And so now, I need to put down the rest of the money come this January. And I was just on the phone with my CFO and my COO today, and we're looking at, okay, now I'm ready to sell shares in my company to generate the money to create that. But I never would have done that before without knowing where it's going, right? So this is all part of it. It's like, get really clear, intend, and then, surrender and create what is actually needed, receive what is actually needed. And it sounds so airy-fairy, and this would always piss me off about manifestation and abundance thinking. It's like, I can't just do that where I could just flip the switch. I actually needed to create systems, right? So today, I'm able to, I was able to turn all of that around, and now my company has made the Inc. 5000 for 3 years in a row. I don't know if you know that, Robert. We're going to do 5 million in revenue this year.
I'm all nervous to talk to you now that you have that impressive stat. Maybe I should put on a nicer onesie here.
There's another one that might be coming. I haven't wanted to count my chickens before they hatch, but I think I'm making it on the entrepreneur list of the 100 most powerful women in the October-November edition.
Yes. That's very
I know.
Cool.
It's kind of
cool. I want to catch us up to in case people are joining us in the middle to see where we are. So we talked about problem solving and mental models and how you think and go about decisions. One is transforming a problem from a stop or a stopping point into an opportunity to surrender and create. And then the example of Burning Man getting stuck and then saying, hey, what is it I really want to create here? I want to create a great weekend with my family. And if that's lying at the hotel pool, that's going to be okay. I'm going to surrender that. And then the universe kind of solved your problem for you. And then the other thing that you've been talking about in part is the balancing of the masculine and the feminine, which these aren't super hard lines and they don't need to be taken as such, but there's kind of like the feminine dreaming, intending of envision, intention, and clarity of intention, and also the surrender to whatever wants to manifest itself, whatever universe source wants to create. And then there's the masculine, which is like the systems, the processes, and the resources, right? So you had the openness, the receptivity, the surrender to receive, what it is that you wanted to create, or what it is your family wanted, which is to be a mother, which is be her mother, right? And then, okay, great, masculine side comes in, okay, how are we going to do this? What's the map? Show me the map, and how are we going to get there, right? Okay, here's my money, here's my calendar, and those two things go like this, and yep, we can get to that point where I found the point on the map, and then I just blazed a trail through there with these two things.
Yes.
We good so far?
So far, yes, that's a really great summary, Robert. I love it. Thank you. Yeah, I think that a lot of times we're in this either or reality, right? Where we're either intending, surrendering, and just letting life happen to us, or we're in this masculine push, got to make it happen at all costs. But there's actually this both and, where you utilize this intend, trust, surrender, and then you line up the systems. And the systems really are, in some ways, as simple as your calendar, and your financial systems. And I say, as simple as, but they are really two of the most confounding things in this 3D reality. We all have the same 24/7 on our calendar, and yet how we use them is so different. And then, money is infinite. It truly is infinite when we know how to access it and use it wisely. It's a made up idea. We have made up the idea of money completely 100%.
And so how do you use money to solve problems? So Joe Polish says, if you have enough money to solve a problem, you don't have a problem. I like to use money as leverage for my time. So I can solve a problem once by investing in something. That to me is totally worth saving for, reducing spending somewhere else for, or spending the money now. Be like, listen, this is going to save me 10 minutes a day for the next 5 years. I'm totally buying this thing, right? I'm going to invest in this thing. How do you make decisions around money and spending?
That's exactly right. It's recognizing that time, energy, and attention are non-renewable resources. Money is an infinitely renewable resource. So I'm going to spend money all day long to save time, energy, and attention. It's part of the reason, Robert, that we had our deal every single year for you to drive the RV to Burning Man. You actually like doing that. I don't like it. I don't have the time for it. I don't have the energy. I don't have the attention for it. So great. I am happy to buy the RV. I'm happy to buy, the gas. I'm happy to, make your journey there as great as it possibly can be, because that's going to save me time, energy, and attention. And so, I'm always looking at where I can make those trade-offs and use money. And now let me just say, when I say use money, I don't come from money. Every bit of money I've ever made has been my own. I put myself through college and law school. I took out grants and loans. I built bootstrapped every business I've had. I've never raised any venture capital. Every single bit of everything that I have ever created has come out of my own pocket. So it's not like I've got, bags of money sitting back there that I can use. I have found it.
And I loved how you demonstrated this to your daughter. I remember when you were making this decision. I love how I have this little sneak preview in your life, like through this. I remember Kaya, your daughter, was getting her first car, and her father wanted to go about a certain way. And you said, no, here's what needs to happen. She needs to invest in her first car. This is her first major purchase. She needs to have decision-making power. She needs to invest her money. She needs to have skin in the game, because this is part of a lifelong journey of her spending her money in a responsible way. And I remember listening to that and being like, that is really smart. I did not have that. My parents were not that heads up. My parents gave me cars. All of my cars have been given to me by my family, and I really appreciate it. I love that I've had working cars that I didn't have to pay for them, but that is a different mentality of understanding money and what you're programming at that early age. I thought that was just brilliant how you did that with your daughter.
Well, thank you. My other child is about to walk up here right now. You want to come on the multiverse at Burning Man?
Sure.
Yeah.
What up?
You remember Noah?
I do remember Noah. Hey, Noah, it's Robert.
Yo,
what's up, man?
How's it going?
He's really tall.
I did the long hair. You're looking good, man. It's how we roll.
Yeah. All right. Love you, Mama.
Love you, buddy. And so, well, an interesting thing came up with my son actually around this as well. It turns out, is a blacksmither. He's into blacksmithing. And
like hammering nails and horseshoes and iron.
Like making knives and swords and various things out of iron, yeah. And so,
cool.
We got him the setup, and he's got his anvil, and he's got his hammer, and he really wants for me to buy him an $1,800 next thing. It's a grinder of some sort, I don't know, some sort of grinder. And I could tell, he's like, I don't know, should we buy it? And I could tell that he's feeling guilty about it. He's feeling guilty about it. Like, he's not really sure if he should buy it. And I said to him, I'll tell you what, I can tell that this is actually something you really want, but let's wait until you make something out of what you already have for us to buy this next piece. And that will be the reward. When you have made something that you're proud of, and that thing that you've made actually needs the belt grinder, then we'll get the belt grinder. And it's very much the same way in business. We can set up reward structures for ourselves where, I'm not going to go to Burning Man if I'm not able to pay my bills. I'm only going to go to Burning Man if I've got my structures and systems set up so that I've got an income, a service, for example, a service that I can offer in the world that I can count on, that I know that if I offer this service in the world, people are going to pay me what I need to earn to pay my bills. Great. When I've got that in place, I'm going to go to Burning Man, or I'm going to reward myself with some other thing.
You just shared a really powerful model that's kind of blowing my mind right now, because I can see where I failed with this. So I've been extremely successful in my life in being really smart and really poor. Like, yeah. I'm a hard worker. I'm really smart. I've struggled financially for the vast majority of my adulthood. It's fascinating, right? I'd almost have to be purposely trying to do this at this point. It's turning around now as I'm doing my business, but I've somehow managed to do this. And as you said that, I can see where I've invested in things that theoretically were good. They were investment. Hey, I want to do this thing. This will help me get there. But I hadn't used the stuff that I already had. I hadn't used my anvil to hammer out some cool, simple knife before getting the advanced grinder where I can do a double-sided battle axe, right? Well, use what you have first before you spend more. Even if you have the money, like if you have enough, like, I don't need to buy the world's biggest.
Yeah.
Like that's such a powerful model to then extrapolate with investing in courses, investing your time in something. Like, how much more do you need before you can use what you have? And if you haven't used what you have, I don't know if more investing is the right thing for you to do with your money. Save that until you have earned that thing that you're investing in, by honoring your past self and honoring the universe with the resource that you currently have. Yeah.
Well, this concept of enough is a big one. It's really a big one. I think most of us are living in a distortion field of more, or not enough, not enough, not enough, not enough. And so I call that money dysmorphia. And this money dysmorphia is driving most of us in one direction or another, either the more, or the not enough, not enough, not enough. And when you can actually make your decisions from a place of enough, what happens is you always know the very next step to take and the very next investment to make. But it has to be coming from this true reality, grounded place of, oh, what is actually enough for me? What is enough for me? Not just getting by, but actually enough. Not one where I could say I'm always in scarcity, but actually enough. And, when I hear you talk about that you've always been broke, or, whatever the words that you used were, my guess is that was actually a reaction to something with your parents, some sort of a rebellion. And that if you actually, Robert, knew what is enough, and you had that number firmly in your mind, clearly in your mind, that you would hit that goal. And then you would be able to create your next level goal. And so my guess is the only reason that you haven't had enough in your own reality, because you actually always have had enough, that's the truth. The truth is your life is freaking amazing.
I agree. I mean, look at the beautiful shit that's on my wall. I mean, not shit. This amazing art that's on my wall. That's crazy cool.
Yes.
Like 100 years ago, what would you have to pay for that?
Yes.
$10,000? Like, I that's on my wall in my office. Like, you're right. I live a completely abundant, beautiful life, doing work that I love, surrounded by people that I love. I'm very healthy. I agree. I live a beautiful, abundant life in very many ways.
Yeah.
Thank you for saying that.
Yeah, you do. And so the idea that you've been in some sort of financial scarcity is just it's actually a false idea. You've always had enough. You always will have enough. And what you get to do now is actually set your enough metric properly in right alignment with the truth of what you want. Right alignment with the truth of what you want. And so if you set that metric, and then you are taking the actions that are necessary to reach that metric, you will hit it every time as long as you don't give up. And then you can live in this intend, trust, surrender, receive reality, because your metric is on point. And you're going to be taking the actions that are necessary, creating the systems, creating the invitations, creating the support around you to get there. And so, in that time that we were talking about, where I just, went to Costa Rica with all of these things happening, and at the same time, from that place was able to build a $5 million company. and able to make the Inc. 5000 list 3 years in a row, the reason that that was able to happen is because I knew what I actually needed. And I wasn't afraid to go receive that from the places that most of us hide our access to resources, right? I've used enormous amounts of credit, both before my bankruptcy and after my bankruptcy. I have leveraged resources that most people are not willing to. I don't have a 401k anymore. I did, but I put that into my business because I know that that's actually my best investment. My business is what's far more likely going to support me in an empowered, sovereign way than the stock market. Even though the stock market's on a crazy run up right now, we all know it's going to crash, right? Duh, it's a bubble. Hello. Get out now before it does. Kind of, that's my seeing.
Not giving financial advice.
No, this is not financial advice. Do as you will. But look at it through the lens of this eyes wide open decision-making framework. And what can you rely on? What can you rely on? You can rely on your creativity, your community, and your resourcefulness. Those are the 3 investments that I think all of us should be making, is in our creativity, in our community, in our resourcefulness. That has now turned into, for me, investments in a sustainable business, investments in land projects, like I described, the one in Costa Rica. From there, then I'm starting to look at, crypto. Then I'm starting to look, beyond at, alternative investments. But you've got to, that starting place is to have absolute clarity on how can I offer a service in the world that I like to deliver, that impacts people in a positive way, that people are going to be happy to pay me for, and then what is my first level metric to reach my first level goal of success using, like you said, what I already have. And so I have no doubt, Robert, that when you set those goals, you're going to make it.
Thank you. So I love what you said, community, creativity, community resourcefulness. I'd love to hear from you, either resources to build those things. Like, do you have any books that are really helpful in this, and or what are the skills of creativity? What are the skills of community? What are the skills of resourcefulness? So taking it down to a more granular level, what can we be doing on those things?
Well, it does start with knowing your own enough. It absolutely starts with knowing what is enough for you so that you're not making any of your decisions from a place of false scarcity. False scarcity injects so much into our systems, our internal systems, and then our community systems that creates a lot of division and a lot of separation. If you look at what's happening, politically right now, it's as a result of a lot of scarcity injected into the system that creates separation. So it really does begin with knowing what is enough for you. How much time, energy, attention, and money do you really need and have? And then making decisions from that place. It also then, from a community standpoint, then allows you to be coming from this place of enough. And that way, when you're engaging with other people and they can feel you coming from enough, they naturally want to be in relationship with you. And the truth is we can't create anything really meaningful in the world without others. Certainly.
Wait. Did you just say when you have enough, when you feel like you have enough, people naturally want to create a relationship with you?
Yeah, they want to be in relationship with you.
That's amazing. That's amazing. Like, that's such a simple but powerful paradigm of when you feel like you have enough, you're radiating this energy. You're being this person who has enough and recognizes the gift they have. And people are like, hey, can I be your friend? You look like a happy, positive person. That's amazing. That's fabulous.
It's one of the, I would say, kind of one of the things that is most attractive to people is this feeling of enough. I am enough.
And most repellent is like the not enough, right? The clinging. Often we talk about clinging people in relationships. It's like when the person is clinging, they don't have enough, right? And they're trying to get your love, your attention, whatever. They're clinging on because they don't feel like enough on their own, right? And then the person who's like, no, I don't need you. I like you. I enjoy spending time with you, but I don't need you. That's the person who's attracted. Like, oh, he's so independent. I just want to be around him, right? This is fascinating. So Ali, we just have a few minutes left. I'd love to wrap up with a summary. Can you give us kind of the high level summary on your decision making? We talked about surrender and balance of masculine and feminine, and investing in creativity, community, resourcefulness. Anything you'd like to say to kind of tie this all together for people to take this and use this out in the world in their decision making?
Yes, make all of your decisions from a place of clear knowing what actually is enough for you when it comes to time, energy, attention, and money. Recognize that time, energy, and attention are non-renewable resources. Money is infinitely renewable when you know how to access it and use it wisely. So if you are using your time, energy, and attention wisely, and you're stressing out about money, you actually don't need to keep stressing out about money. Set a clear goal with your money, set a clear goal with your time, energy, and attention, and you're gonna get there. You're gonna get there when you keep aligning your resources, team resources, we call them, time, energy, attention, and money. You keep aligning your time, energy, attention, and money towards that goal. And if that goal is based in enough so that you can share with the people around you from this place of enough so that they have enough too, you're going to be able to live in community. You're going to be able to collaborate with other people. You're going to be able to achieve big things in the world to the extent that you want to. You can choose to live a very simple life. You can choose to do big things in the world. It'll be your choice. And you'll be coming from this place of recognizing that you are a creator. You're a creator of the economy. You don't have to worry about the economy out there. You get to create your own economy right here.
Oh, that's so beautiful. Ali, what you just said was just pure brilliant. I don't know if you channeled that or if you'd had that waiting the whole time. I'm gonna have that transcribed. That was just brilliant. And you get the thumb up from Dr. Z, and he's a smart physicist. So we got confirmation from the masculine structures as well as the intuitive world. Ali, thank you so much. This was so fun. I'm honored that you asked me to do this with you. Thank you for sharing your brilliance, your decision making, your thought processes. And I feel like we got something here that's just gonna be really valuable to everyone in their future decision-making process.
Thanks, Robert.
Beautiful to see you. I hope to see you inside the Mystic Verse or the Infinite Ply or the Dusty Verse or one of the many Burning Man universes. I'll look at the art and then you can come by and be like, okay, yeah, that is nice. I'm gonna go do something else. That's usually our shtick.
That's usually how it goes.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Love.
We'll do that in virtual reality. It's great to see you, Ali. Love you. Thank you so much.
Bye-bye for now.